At this time, I'd like to call the April 2nd, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. With that, please let the record show that all council members are present. Before we get started, I wanted to remind folks, because this is only our third meeting of the whole that we've had so far this year, a couple of highlights. One is that these are intended to be informal and allow us to do a deep dive on some of the issues that will be brought forward today, and that no legislative action is allowed to take place during this. The OPMA does absolutely still apply, but that means it is going to be run informally, and any direction that the council gives is going to be done informally as well. And that's why we use the head nod or the thumbs up rather than a formal vote. With that, let's go to our first item. Item number 1 is our Des Moines Marina 10-year capital improvement plan, presented by Deputy Harbor Master Katie Bevegny.
All right, before Katie gets started, I want to say a couple quick things on this item. First, just as a friendly reminder for everybody, the Marina, of course, operates as an enterprise fund, and so what that means is that really Katie's lens is going to be looking at the experience and needs purely of the boating tenants. So when she talks about parts of the project, she's got a map in there, but she's going to be thinking what will be supported by the moorage that the tenants pay and what are the improvements they need. Because the marina is such a community area, it's really easy to kind of find yourself talking about general fund items. So just a friendly reminder on that. And then second thing, since I think this is the first time some of our new members are seeing this CIP, like other CIPs, these are long-term plans that do not have funding already figured out for all the projects. The near-term projects, we do have funding for. And then the further out you get, we may not have funding identified yet, but that's part of the process. So, all right, Katie?
Thank you. Evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I will be presenting the Des Moines Marinas Capital Improvement Plan for the 10-year Capital Improvement Plan. Did I do? So the purpose of this presentation is to provide you all with an overview of our 10-year Capital Improvement Plan. This plan is a more focused vision of our infrastructure needs, and it identifies some of the funding strategies for the marina. The projects that are listed do have funding sources as part of the 27-28 budget and will coincide with the biannual budget process. A little in the background, Marina Master Plan versus a Marina 10-year CIP. Previously, we did have a Marina Master Plan. This 10-year CIP plan is not meant to necessarily replace the master plan. More, it is prioritizing the maintenance and the assets of the marina for the Marina Enterprise Fund. If council would like to pursue a Marina Master Plan, that is something that we could, of course, do as an offshoot of the city's strategic planning process. A little in the background, the 2007 Marina Master Plan is the last adopted Marina Master Plan that the marina had. I kind of considered that the dream plan. It had a multi-phase, about 9 different phases of projects. A lot were listed. It was approximately $35 million. It incorporated a pretty wide base of achievements that it wanted to complete. We did actually complete some of them. The most noticeable ones are going to be the removal of that the old lift that we had, the old public sling that we had, that was removed. We replaced that whole boardwalk in front of it that spanned between CSR and the kiosk. We got a new travel lift in general, and then we did some dredging and some smaller dock projects. It didn't complete everything. Part of that had to do with the fact that the plan was adopted in 2007. The following year was the recession, and the recession did hit the boating industry pretty significantly for those projects. Some of the uncompleted projects that were listed in that program were replacing the harbor master's office, the tenant restrooms, and it actually listed replacing all of our docks within that 10-year time frame, which we can see haven't quite been done. The map that you're seeing right there is the is how we kind of identify the Marina Enterprise Zone versus the waterfront zone. The waterfront zone being the yellow portion of that, and that is that is the general fund zone essentially. So that is the public use spaces that for the marina, and then the blue portion is what the Marina Enterprise Fund zone is, and that is what our boaters and our boating community financially support our department. Okay, so what have we done? So the Marina Master Plan kind of ended around financially in the 2017 timeframe of what that had intended on doing. What have we done since then? We've had a condition assessment report that was done in 2020. That condition assessment report showed faster deterioration of a lot of our assets than we expected. We've seen rising costs on these projects. A lot of our big capital improvement projects between the marina and other city projects, those costs are definitely going up. We've got stricter national, state, and local regulations, especially as it relates to the environmental permitting process. Those processes used to be a few months, and now we're looking at years for getting environmental permits. We have new leadership now. We have a new city leadership and city council, so we have a more focused way of looking at our projects and an actionable approach for them. Last year, we also had our BST rate study that was done by Paul Sorensen. That really identified where the marina was when it came to our rate schedule for what other facilities in the Puget Sound area were at. And then we have our new 10-year capital improvement plan that we've provided to you guys. This plan is an actionable plan. It aligns with current marina zone priorities, and it really prioritizes the maintenance of our current assets. This plan should be reviewed and updated annually to remain flexible and responsive to those priorities and needs. So why investment is needed? These photos that you're seeing right here were all taken from that 2020 Reed Middleton report. They really kind of show the deterioration and corrosion that a lot of our dock structures are seeing. The photo in the bottom right-hand corner is showing the seawall, and that's what, some temporary fixes that we have to keep that seawall structure safe for that area. But the marina is, over 50 years old at this point, built in 1970, and it really comes down to committing to invest in the marina to ensure it remains safe and reliable and functional for future generations. How we developed this, we used the results of that condition report from Reed Middleton, and we prioritized the critical path for maintenance and replacement. As the city manager noted, similar to other CIP projects, funding has been identified for the next 1 to 2 years to support the design phase. So over the next few slides, I'm going to point out some of the main project highlights that focus on completing the near-term improvements that are already underway, followed by a shift to some of the larger safety-critical infrastructure projects that we need to complete. We included the dock replacement project. This project is scheduled for completion in a couple of weeks, but it is kind of at the beginning stages of the 2026 to 2036 plan, so we wanted to include it just as a note here. The next few slides, though, are going to go into more detail on the 3 main projects that we'll have over the next 10 years. So the tenant restroom, we've talked about this with council in the past. This project, we are finalizing our permits. We expect it to start here at the end of our boating season. We're kind of just ramping up into our seasonal boating time frame, and so we don't want to be taking out the restroom before all these tenants come in. So we're gonna, at the end of the boating season, we're gonna start this project. It shouldn't take too long. We're hoping to have it completed either before the end of the year or by early part of next year. And then these 2 projects, they go hand in hand, which is why we put them on the slide together. The replacement of our seawall and pedestrian walkway that goes from where CSR is located all the way to ADOC. They are the most critical, both due to their state as well as need to be completed prior to any future phases of dock replacement projects. We do currently have funds in our professional services to start on our conceptual design and engineering for this project. So we plan on doing that in the coming couple of years. The benefits for the seawall in particular is that the seawall protects both the upland and in-water assets, and it will enhance the recreation and public access along the waterfront. And it's, as I said before, the critical step in replacing future docks. Utility upgrades, that just goes hand in hand, because if you're going to tear out the seawall, that's where all of those utilities are. So you would replace the utilities in there as well for electrical upgrades, because of the electrical codes and everything have changed, and boating power has changed. So we got to get those updated as well. So this comes to the total conceptual cost for those kind of three big projects. It's roughly between $28 and $35 million, and that does include the engineering and construction and design. But having engineering and design actually done will provide a more definitive cost for the projects. To the fun part, our funding strategy will of course be the Marina Enterprise Fund. That will be the primary source that will pay for these projects. We'll continue to look at our rates to make sure that we are on market, we're up with the market, and we're doing what we need to do to keep a competitive facility. We'll look at our bonds that we have. We currently have 2018 bonds that are scheduled to be paid off here at the end of 2028. And so we'll get with our bond counsel and our finance department to see what kind of bond capacity we have at that time. We'll look for funds from the non-enterprise fund, and that is mostly to assist with the assets of the marina that are heavily used by the general public versus the boating community. And then, of course, we have our state and federal grants that there are several that we can choose for both aspects of that. So this just comes to our recommendations, and we would recommend to proceed with the engineering and conceptual design for the most critical projects that were listed, to include an updated condition report. And we would recommend to continue to work with city leadership and council in developing a long-term vision for the marina as a whole that aligns with the city's strategic planning process, and then as well as continue financial modeling of our marina rates. That brings me to the end of my presentation. More than happy to open up the discussion with all of you.
Councilmember Simons.
Well, the big three projects, 28 to 35 million over the next 10 years. Big numbers, round numbers.
Yep.
We understand that. Do we have funding sources in mind that aligns with those kinds of numbers, or are we still just kind of looking for the funding sources? That wasn't clear, the connection between the funding and what we want to spend.
As Katie said, we have funding already identified and in the budget to begin design, which will really help us refine costs. There is existing debt that the marina is paying off that gets completed in 2028, which frees up some capacity. We can't model out exactly what that debt issuance looks like yet, because we need to get better costs, but we are getting closer to being able to have a sense of that. So my prediction would be construction will be a mix of debt and cash, meaning income we get every year from the tenants, and then of course some grants. Scott, did you have anything you want to add on that?
Okay, so it's really kind of a phase by phase. We know what the first phase, the engineering design, and we have funding identified for that.
Yep.
Once we get there, then we've got a tighter handle on the costs, and we know that we'll have at least some debt capacity freed up.
Yep, it's just like when we do transportation projects, right? So Tommy Owen comes in and shows you a long list, and we have the near-term projects figured out, and then we figure it out, we get a plan as we get to the next stage.
Yeah, I'm just asking to make sure it's clear for everybody. So, thank you.
Councilmember Bloss.
The seawall is in pretty rough shape. Would it last up until 2036 if we have to wait that long?
We believe so. I mean, it's still very protected, so there's not a lot of wind damage and wave damage and everything like that. It's just tide fluctuation. We have repaired quite a few spots, and we'll continue to be looking at that and assess different areas and keep it as, you know, but it's very safe and everything else. It's just needs some serious work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
So, and I'm not being flip here, do you expect the marina to be in service in 25 years?
Yes, I sure hope so. It should be. And if we take care of it now,
No, I don't mean should be. I mean, is it is that something that the city has thought about? Just, is it going to continue to serve 25 years into the future? Seriously.
yes.
I strongly believe so. I mean, it's 50-some years old. It still stands strong, and with our continued maintenance of what we have now and planning for the future, I hope to be along for another 50.
But again, I'm not being flip. You can't give it back. My understanding is you can't just decommission it and, you know, take your ukulele and.
Just have a beach again?
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen.
Okay.
Yes.
So, do you happen to know just within, you know, $1 million or so, just what the reserve is for the marina at the moment? Is there some?
I would have to get with
Okay.
our finance director. I'm sorry.
Jeff can look that up.
Okay. All right. I guess for now, you know, my desire is to investigate the dry stack, obviously. I would like to, do you have the ability now to understand? My understanding is that there are very different classes of permits, whether you get into the benthic sediment, I'm not going to even pretend to, but because it's just that sheer face, that it's something that, you know, is not that 2-3 year deep dive with the Corps and so forth. Is there any way to sort of guesstimate the difficulty of that versus, you know, driving pilings and so on?
Thank you.
Or is that something we could get a firmer understanding of, you know, by the time we do the budget or the?
We're finishing up with Anchor right now that did our permitting process for the dock projects and everything else. And that's a question I can run by them, what it looks like right now, the capacity with those agencies, Fish and Wildlife, the Corps of Engineers, Marine Fisheries, and everything else, and see if that timeline has changed at all. As Katie's pointed out, it has gotten a little bit longer. So I think if you were to say do a project tomorrow, I think it still would take over a year to get the permits.
Okay, but not 5. I'm just.
I don't
no. Here,
no.
you know,
Yeah.
And I don't think I've been misled that they really are different depending on
Yes.
whether you have to dig out or
Correct.
not. Can you estimate, or could you provide for the council just a rough, you know, because we did visit a couple of sites, basically what it would require to get hard numbers on doing the facility?
I'm gonna interrupt here for a second. That's not something that Scott can do without direction from us or the administration that we want to go that direction.
I'm just asking if it's possible to be done in time for the strategic plan thing or the budget. Is it something that you could do in a couple of months if you were given that direction?
To plan out the permitting, the costs, and the size and structure and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, because you did a presentation that was fairly elaborate. The only thing that seemed to be missing was just basically the debt service at the time. And if that, you know, is that something you could obtain in the next couple of months?
Again, I'm going to interrupt here that we don't direct staff, and so Scott will need to talk to Catherine about whether or not that's something that they can do.
I wasn't directing anybody. I was just asking a question as to what is possible. That's really all. I don't think that was a hardball at all, you know. But that's really all I have to ask about is it possible to do that? You
I can sit down with Catherine and we can go over some of the strategies and see, and let you know if it'd be possible.
I appreciate that, and my final thing is just that.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Harris, can we limit to 3 questions and I'll come back to you?
Sure.
Okay,
you
great,
bet.
because Councilmember Nutting has been patiently waiting. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. My comments are, thanks for the presentation. Always enjoy hearing from you guys. Well done. It's my comment, and I'm all for moving forward with the 10-year capital improvement plan, but I would like to see an updated master plan at some point as time allows. I know we're short-staffed and that kind of thing, but 2007, that seems a long time out, and our needs have changed. I think it's due.
I completely agree. And so I think the right time for us to do that is really 2027 and do it right. The reason why I say that is because, the topic of the marina, the topic of the dry stack has come up before, and there hasn't been really clear direction from a majority as to kind of what the vision for the marina is. Meaning, is it, really about boating and a little more industrial feeling to meet those needs? Is it more of a quality of life community thing? Those are the type of big vision that we need to figure out in a master plan, and I think we need to do it right. So because 2026 is going to end up being the year of the city's strategic plan, I would recommend we put funding in for 2027 for that.
Fully agree with you. I just, wanted to give you my 2 cents.
Perfect.
What it's worth. Thank you.
Other questions? Anyone before we go back to Councilmember Harris? Just want to make sure we get the airtime. All right, Councilmember Harris, you're up.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you for the presentation, and I would slightly disagree with the city manager in that you're the customer management, and everything I hear from the tenants is that you do it like a boss, and I don't want to ever intervene on that unless I hear static, and I don't. And so my questions have been basically about the finances of the city because, your job is keeping the tenants happy, and it's not mine to, but that's all I got, and thank you for all you guys do. Yeah.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Oxiger.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the presentation. You have the dry sheds listed at end of life in 3 to 5 years. We have a lot of decisions to make in the meantime. When you say end of life, are we talking about they've got to go in that period of time, or are we're going to be able? What are we going to do if we have to remove those?
Well, go ahead. Okay. At the present time, we are, because when we took out the dry shed sling, the smaller sling, we did lose some occupancy in those. So we have changed our kind of modeling on that, and we have more storage than we have in the past, which is a different rate, but that's different. At the present time, we're looking at moving, as you know, there's the big sheds in the back, and then there's a smaller section in the front. We're looking at taking those people and putting them into the back sheds, and then taking out the smaller sheds for that extra space. And then those sheds will last long enough until council's decision and city staff's decision on what to do with that property. But they will last.
Thank you.
Well, if there's really no other questions or discussion, then what our next steps are is we are taking the steps to get professionals under contract to do the design work for the seawall. So that will be something that will come to council. And then we will also plan on funding for a marina master plan in 2027. And that can really be the right time to sort of talk about those big issues unless we get direction to add something else or do something otherwise. Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I think it's exciting to resurrect some of these projects that have been backburnered due to world circumstances, and I know that the marina is in need of some dire maintenance, and so let's focus on some of those basics. Thank you. We have a break. Okay, I'm going to call this committee of the whole to a adjournment here, and then we will reconvene at 6 o'clock for our study session. At this time, I'd like to call the April 2nd, 2026 Des Moines City Council study session to order. Deputy Mayor Jean Oxiger will lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you are able. Please let the record show that all council members are present. Now is the time for comments from the public. Because this is a study session, we're only hearing comments that address items on the agenda. Other subjects may be heard at our next regular council meeting, which is going to be next week on April 9th. We ask that you keep your comments respectful. So when I call your name, please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. And let us know your name and city of residence if this pertains to a topic on our study session. Penny Leonard? No, I'm sorry. Penley. Sorry about that.
Marina Place condominium building, 506 South 222nd Street, Des Moines. For those of you who don't immediately have a picture of where that is, we are the building across the street from Soundview Park on the corner of 5th Avenue South and South 222nd. A lot of traffic there, and there is a lot of danger to pedestrians. We notice that one of the capital improvements project under discussion is the Overlook Connection Assessment. And we just want to say that we're really excited about being able to give public input on some of the solutions. We're very concerned about the pedestrians that wander up and down the street because there are no sidewalks. And if you take that into consideration in your future discussions about this project, we'd be very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Up first in our discussion items, we'll be talking about item number 1, permitting software presentation with Community Development Director Rebecca Deming. City Manager, would you like to kick that off, or am I going directly to Rebecca? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Catherine and I have been here about a year and a half, and we've heard a lot of complaints and concerns regarding the permitting process within the city. This slide shows some of the issues we heard when we got here. Things like the process takes a while, I don't know what I need, and I don't know what to do, and a lot, especially about I don't know where my project's at. In fact, we recently had a staff member from a construction company side of a major project call regarding a permit who's very familiar with permitting processes. They had to call and get their status information because they couldn't find what was going on with their permit through our system. Although I'm here to talk about software, not all complaints can be resolved through software. We have made other updates to try and improve the department processes, including improved lobby space and counter availability with office hours, updating handouts and creating checklists to assist applicants, faster response times to calls and emails, expedited plan review options, and a customer service survey added to our signature block within our department. This proposed software change will also improve usability of our system and understanding of the requirements. Presentation will explain more of some of the highlights of the customer-friendly changes. Our current system is Permit Tracks from Bitco. When you go into that system, you need to know what kind of permit you'd like to submit. So it just has a big list. And you're able to submit the application without all of the requirements. So basically, sometimes you're always going to get an incomplete application because you don't upload the documents until after you hit submit. So sometimes we have stuff that sits there for a long time until someone actually submits paperwork or actually pays. It all happens, sometimes it could take months before we even have a complete application. And once you do submit, as I mentioned, went the wrong way. Once you do submit, it's hard to know what your status is. This new system, Enterprise Permitting and Licensing, or EPL, allows permits to be, sorry, I went too many pages. There's some major differences. They're a lot of the same. Both have like electronic plan review and things like that, so those aren't all listed. So these are definitely not all the features of the system. These are just some of the major differences, including a integrated system with our finance, so easier pay process, user-friendly decision trees, and better visibility of the review status between the applicant, contractor, and the city. It also has some management tools and automated status notifications, as well as configurable workflows. The decision engine has basically a way to for us to set up custom questions to get people to the right application. So in here it says, for instance, are you pulling a permit out as a contractor? You could ask if your project's residential or commercial. So you basically set up a decision tree to get people to the right permit, as it shows on this one. This is one example that one city did. They did it by photo. So they said, hey, you're doing a residential exterior permit. Here's a photo of all the different permits by photo that you could pull: solar, a dock, right-of-way, and then you just click on that to get to the right permit. So there's lots of different ways to get there through questions, basically. Helps assist in the application. The system can also modify its requirements based on GIS and location layers. So if you're in the flood zone, we can automatically request an elevation certificate. It's not something that we have to review ahead of time and ask for to get a complete application. So it's able to speak directly to our GIS system. It also uses our city naming files, so when we upload, if like an elevation certificate, you can name the file whatever you want, and when you hit upload, it'll name it our name based on that file that we're requesting. So we don't have the confusion we sometimes have about what kind of plans you're uploading like we do now, because right now you just upload it and we have to figure out what you uploaded. It's got a dashboard that has very clear workflow, as you can see from the image on the right, and a very clear area of what actions are needed by the applicant. For instance, in this one, fees are due. If you're a contractor that might have multiple permits in the city, or even a residence that has multiple permits going through, there's a different dashboard that has clear again, another section on clear outstanding tasks, so what we're waiting for, but it also has a lot of different dashboard things about where you're at on each project and timelines. And then you can also respond to comments directly in the system instead of having to do a separate response letter, which is a nice feature. The system lets you create a permit from a shape within the map, which is really interesting for trying to do accurate right-of-way permits. So if, for instance, if you're permitting a pipe in the street, it's no longer what's the nearest parcel to tie it. You can actually build the shape of the event, of the item or the right-of-way right on the map to pull a permit off of that spot. So then when you map all of your permits, it's an accurate location instead of the closest parcel. You also can still get a full list of the different types of permits. If you're a knowledgeable contractor, you know exactly what you want. You have a way of avoiding all of the questions, and you can still get there. This is basically what the Citizens Portal will look like. These are all customizable. Which tiles we have and whatnot will be up to us. It'll have, similar to what we have now, we've got a public record search option where you can go into our site and look at permits that are little dots and see what permits are out there. This will have a search function. You can search by name or by number, but it basically helps to reduce public records requests because you'll be able to kind of go in there and search for something. One of the features we're looking forward to is a fee estimator. We get a lot of calls about what's the fee going to be. There's a lot of different variables. This basically builds that into the system to ask someone that. So as I mentioned on the public record search, say you're driving by a sign and you see the word bamboo, but you miss everything else on that land use sign on the lot. You can just type in bamboo and see all of the things that come up with that name and say, or you can search by the map. I want to know what my neighbor's doing specifically. And so you can go to the map and search and see all of the permits that are out there. And again, fully customizable. One of the examples showed code enforcement cases. You can show them or you cannot. It's up to the city on what you display. Here's one that I pulled from another city using the same software. in doing a public records search to show what a general person can see not signed in. So you don't have to be a contractor, you don't have to be the applicant. One of the things I liked about it, you can see how far they are along, you can see when the permit review is due, and you can see, and all of this is customizable. I looked at a bunch of different cities. Some people had this blocked out at the bottom that said you had to be logged in to see it. Some had the other ones where you could only see, you could see this, but you couldn't see any of the other like attachments or inspections or anything like that blocked out. So it's fully customizable on what we make visible. That's a big difference than what we have now. There's the customized dashboards are live. You don't have to run reports. You can go to this site and see live a new application comes in and this number changes. So these are running live dashboards to see what's going on. One of the interesting things is we can add our city set metrics. So if we have specific turnaround times that we're trying to meet, we can put those in there and it will tell us with the red or green flag whether we're meeting those metrics or whether we're not meeting those metrics. And then you can see over a map how permits are changing in different areas over time. So you can drag that little bar across and see where the bulk of permits are from one year to the next, and you can hopefully see trends. A lot of this is used, these management tools are used for budgeting purposes. You can see what money's coming in and what the trends are. The fee for implementation is $166,250. The ongoing annual fee is just under $80,000. We do collect an automation/technology fee to cover these kinds of costs, to cover on the permit so that we can cover permitting software. And right now our annual revenue under that fee is approximately $140,000. If we move forward, we would return to council on April 23rd with the agreement, and we expect it to take about a year to implement. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation. Do we have an estimated amount of time staff will spend on customizing the software to what we want?
I don't. The reason I put a year is because I expected us to take more time than is normal for an implementation. If you ask them how long it takes to implement, they would show less than a year. But because we don't have written workflows, that's a lot of efficiencies I feel that can make us better while we're doing the software. So I think we're going to spend a lot of time doing it because I think we need it anyways to make us more efficient, make us easier to understand, do checklists. Those are all things that we need to do anyways. So it will take a lot of staff time, but it's things we need to do anyways.
Absolutely. And I've got how user-friendly is the software? Being a contractor myself and using several different municipalities' software, I've run into challenges between municipalities on even the fact that I use software all the time, navigating through their software just to upload a permit or find out where my permit is or schedule an inspection.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to show with some of these screens, that I think it's really easy to find what you need. You've got, this is a contractor's dashboard where it shows all the different permits they have throughout the city and a map. It's got a lot of features, and I personally think it's very easy to use. Same with, this is the applicant side, which looks very similar to the public side. You just see different information when you're logged in or not. You can very clearly see on the workflow where you're at on the workflow. You can very clearly see where your plan review is. One of the biggest things that concerns and issues I have with our current the way our software uses plan review is you can't, if you say you've completed the review, it thinks it's approved. There's no way to like mark it not approved and reject it back. This one clearly has, you've rejected the plan review because you have comments, so then it becomes a new line item plan review. The way ours is designed is just to keep it open until it's done. And so it's not very clear how long timelines are. I was having a really hard time finding the timelines on how long it was with us on a specific project, because you have to go and look, when did we upload, when did we send comments? It's not something built into the system like this one. And so it's a lot easier to read and understand, I feel, for both sides.
Okay, and my last comment here is that I'm just concerned that a generation that hasn't used a lot of software, and doesn't understand it if they're doing a remodel in their house. I just don't want us as a building department to get away from the personal side of things and helping people down the road and helping people get to yes, instead of just directing them to the website and say, take care of the software. Here you go, and it'll help you out. So I think we still need to be what's the word I'm looking for? We just need to help people get to yes.
Yes. One of the things that we like about this is that with that decision engine, it helps people get through and understand what they need to do. But one of the improvements we did at City Hall was put a computer so that we could walk people through how to submit, where to fill it in, so that if they don't know how to do it at home, we can set them up right at City Hall and walk them through, and they could type their name in and put it all in, and we can help them.
Very good. That's the answer I was looking for.
Rebecca,
Thank you
can
so
you
much.
also go to the slide at the start about the office hours we've set up, just as a reminder of some of the other things we've done? Because I agree, Councilmember Nutting, like, software doesn't solve your problem. So these are, again, reminder, the other things we've implemented.
Thank you very much. Great presentation.
Councilmember Steinmetz.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Nice presentation. This actually looks like it's something even I might be able to figure out. And that would be a big plus. Just to kind of follow up on what Councilmember Nutting was saying about him using a lot of different city software, how prevalent is this software in whatever you know? In state, King County, et cetera?
I asked to get a list by the next meeting of everyone in Washington. I don't know how many they have. I know that there are a handful, at least, in Washington. There are a lot across the country.
Have you heard any feedback from other cities about this software as part of the vetting process?
I haven't, but I've used it before.
Okay. And then lastly, to the fund, you said there's a fund balance because we have about
Correct.
$140,000 we collect.
That's correct. That's our annual collection, correct. Plus, I didn't put on the screen, but we do have a fund balance to easily cover it. That is correct.
Right. And is the fund balance easily covering the difference between the 166 and the 140, or
Yes.
do we already have the 166 in the fund balance?
We already have the 166 in the fund balance.
Okay, so really we've got this paid for if we want
That's
to.
correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. Can you name one other vendor that you evaluated?
Yeah, we looked at cloud permitting and Clarity were the top three that got demos for the whole development staff, but I vetted additional ones before I took the top three to the all development staff.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, I'm familiar with Tyler for all kinds of accounting stuff. I wasn't aware they do, but of course they do everything. So my interest is, yeah, what have we been doing? So we just basically keep that 140K, you know, rolling over, or do we, right now, do we use it for something else?
Yeah, so our fund, well, no. I mean, we have a large fund balance, but it's used to replace things when we need to replace, like the computer at the front office, or we need to replace iPads with the inspectors. So we build funds to cover our technology costs that relate to permitting. And there is a sufficient funds there.
It's not going to, like, you know, take away from...
No.
Okay, let's see. Next, does it, this is, I'll ask you offline, but does it have some kind of export function for those of us just, you know, can you, like, print a report rather than... I mean, the graphic stuff is all groovy, but I'm just...
Yes, it's going to have standard reporting, but also even just in the permit search, you can export that to Excel too. So if you just wanted to run a report of all building permits between certain years, you can do that through the public search and then export it to Excel.
Okay, last but not least, my interest, you know, like with these conversions, because, I mean, I used to make my living on this stuff, is there's sort of a staff discipline involved in this stuff. In other words, you convert to a new system and you find out that basically people have to start rigorously, you know, all of the fields are required now and everything like that. And do you anticipate any kind of, it's just that, in other words, the benefits of this require rigor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an internal thing, not just moving bytes back and forth.
As I mentioned, we presented it to the entire team. This was the top one, so in order to get staff buy-in, I expect to have, I expect that most people really liked it and are looking forward to it. So I don't foresee issues getting staff to use the system properly.
Wow. No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. This has been something that's actually on the top of my list. I've been nudging folks about a permitting software upgrade. When I mentioned this at a family gathering last night, I got an earful. I was not expecting to get an earful, but I got the user interface of the current system is really tough because if you log into the wrong one, it'll show you a blank space and you're like, what happened to my permit? But then you've actually logged into the wrong place. And I was like, yes, please tune in tomorrow to hear more about our technology upgrades. And it looks to me that many of the features that you've shown us are actually things that our system doesn't do at all.
Correct.
So
That's
these
what
are
I concentrated on.
These are all the new things that are happening.
That's correct. I
Okay.
did not show you like the app. I didn't show you plan review because we do all of that and we still will do all of that.
Great, great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Moving on to discussion item number 2, we're going to be talking about amenity rentals. And with us today is Assistant City Attorney Matthew Hutchins.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Matthew Hutchins, continuing our discussion on amenity rental regulations. Excuse me. You all have heard at least 3 presentations on amenity rentals before, so I'll try to keep the background short and move us into the meat of this. So again, amenity rentals, it's when a homeowner rents a outdoor area on their property or an outdoor improvements on their property to some other person for them to use for a fee. Now, because there's money being exchanged, that makes this commercial activity, and commercial activities as a general matter, they're generally not allowed in residential zones, and the reason for that is the point of residential zones is it's residences. It's a place to rest, to relax, spend time with your family, recharge away from work or school. So we expect it to be a quieter, calmer place, but obviously that's not absolute. Part of having a home is you want to use your outdoor amenities. You want to be able to play in the yard, use your pool, play basketball on the hoop on your garage, and your neighbors also have the same expectation that they get to use their amenities in their free time. So while a residential neighborhood is a quieter place, the sounds from people using their yards, using their pools, having barbecue, kids riding in the streets, all those sounds are part of the natural environment of your neighborhood. So the question we asked ourselves is there a way that we can regulate and permit home amenity rentals in a way that they fit within this environment that we expect in residential neighborhoods? So in getting to that question and the way we propose to answer it came from a lot of helpful input from council. And these are some of the concepts you guys had set out for us. Is there a way to objectively distinguish between small, infrequent, small amenity rentals or larger ones that have a lot more frequent, have more people, potentially bring a lot more attention in the neighborhood? And if we can make that distinction, is there a way where we can make barriers to getting business licenses for the small, low-intensity operations? Can we make it easier for them to get into business? But on the other hand, if we the larger scale amenity rentals on the other end of the scale. Maybe if they have more impacts on the neighborhood, maybe sometimes it would be appropriate to have them go through the CUP process to address what those impacts might be. And asked, can we categorize rentals by what sort of activities will be going on with them, and can we address the kind of activities that might have more inherent risk to them, such as ones involving fire or water activities. And lastly, if there's a lot of calls for service, noise complaints, that sort of thing for a amenity rental, is there a way to revoke a business license as appropriate? So what we came up with is a three-tiered approach. We propose to create three categories of amenity rentals, and that would be based on a level of activity based on two measures. One is how often do the rentals occur and how many people might attend them. So the lowest category in terms of activity we call the limited amenity rentals. And those ones we propose to just outright permit them as a matter of right, so long as a few conditions are taken care of. Obviously no CUP involved with those. Our intermediate category we call modified amenity rentals. Those ones can be approved by the community development director. It is a less intensive administrative decision than a CUP would be. And our third category is large amenity rentals, and those can be permitted through a fairly standard CUP process if the first two categories cannot fit your business. So the first category, limited amenity rentals. These are, they're designed for homeowners who do not want to spend a lot of time, a lot of energy in running a home amenity business. And it is designed to permit uses that don't really appear from the outside like they would be different than the standard use they would get from the people who live in the home. The idea here is that council sets a level of activity, again, based on how many rentals would occur in a set period of time, per day, per week, per month, and the maximum number of people that would be attending the rentals. If your business model falls within those parameters, we're just going to presume that this activity fits within the neighborhood character, and it'll be permitted, just as long as you comply with some common sense rules that'll address things such as hours of operation, parking, and noise. For example, if the council set their numbers at 7 rentals a week, 20 people per rental, and you're a property owner who wanted to rent out your tennis court 2 or 3 times a week, no more than 4 people at a time, you're set. You can come in and apply for your business license. Simple as that. Now, when I was discussing this with our city manager, she pointed out to me, and it was a good point, that if we just have a bright line, yes or no, that can be a little harsh sometimes, doesn't take into account circumstances, and it may not be perfectly tailored to achieve what we're trying to do here. So that is why we have the modified amenity rentals. So we may have a homeowner who thinks, the way I would run my home amenity rental business, I think we could accommodate a few more times a week, maybe a few extra people attending, but the way I would be running it, like the limited amenity rentals, it would appear to be no different than ordinary use of those amenities. So if your business plan doesn't fall within the limited amenity rentals, but it's within, let's call it a reasonable margin of error of those limits. You will have the opportunity to make your case to the city that based on the particulars of your property or mitigation measures you want to take, then it would fit within the character of the neighborhood, just like a limited amenity rental would. So the way it'd work is you'd make an application to the community development director. There'd be notice to the neighbors. They would have the opportunity to comment. And once the community development director takes into account what the applicant has submitted and concerns or lack of concerns from the neighbors, if she determines that the plan essentially fits into the spirit of what we're trying to do with limited amenity rentals, it can be permitted. Now, the margin of error will also be set by council, like the limits on the first category. But should keep in mind that maybe these would also want to be set in a way that recognizes that home amenity rentals are meant to be a sideline business that's incidental to the residential use of the property, which is the primary use, and it is not supposed to be a standalone business. Then our large amenity rental category, if you do not fit into the first two categories, and that's most likely going to be the homeowner wants more frequent rentals, be able to have larger attendance, they're still able to apply to the city for a CUP. And this would be because these sorts of operations we would expect to actually have more impact to the neighborhood, and they would appear to be more like a conventional business. The CUP process involves notice and public comment, staff research, and an open hearing before the hearing examiner. The hearing examiner would be determining, like with any CUP, does the proposed use, is it compatible with the surrounding uses of the neighborhood? As you know, CUP application fees are fairly substantial, several $1,000s. There has been discussion, and the council, if they wished, could reduce the CUP fees for this kind of application. But as also you've heard before, potentially that would mean the city does not recoup all their expenses. So if we bring forward an ordinance to implement this scheme, if you're in favor of it, thought would be that the ordinance would also include some specific rules for specific types of use. And one example of this would be someone wants to run a dog park. We'd want to require that the area be fenced, rabies vaccinations, and dog waste gets picked up and disposed of properly in a pretty quick manner. And additionally, the ordinance would likely provide that if there are a certain number of calls for service or violations of city code or noise complaints, we would provide to revoke the license. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. We are asking for some little feedback here. First and most importantly, does the council agree with this approach? And if so, if you at this time have some ideas on where you would like the threshold numbers to be, we'd be interested in hearing that as well. How frequent you think we should permit the rentals, and how many people can attend them, and what do you think would be a reasonable margin of error where you could apply for the modified amenity rental. And of course, is there anything else you'd like to add, or anything else you'd like to see in the ordinance? So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Councilmember Steinmetz.
Matt, I want to compliment you on really doing a good job of taking a lot of input from a lot of different people and putting this together. So I think you've done a really nice job of capturing what, at least I hope, the council's trying to get at here. Because this is a real thing. We're not going to stop these from happening, so we better have a scheme to deal with them. And I think that is, this is a very reasonable approach. I like the 3 tiers. In the first tier, it seems to me that having an amenity being rented out 7 days a week is probably not consistent with it being a residential neighborhood. And so I would think 5 days would be a max. I think 20 is probably a decent number for that. But there also, particularly when you get into the second tier, I think there's some interaction between not just the number of times, but the number that it gets rented out, but the number of people that are allowed each time. And there needs to be some way to balance that. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. We can spitball some ideas about.
Can you go back to the slide that showed it, just so I think it's easier for council member reference?
40 people is a lot.
Certainly.
For a residential. Now, I may throw an occasional party at my house, using my house normally, not charging anybody. But I'm certainly not going to do it 15 times a week. So if you're going to have 40 people, maybe it needs to be a lot less times per week, and there needs to be a sliding scale that balances between the two of those.
Certainly, we can come up with some ideas, and one option would be, to allow every now and again you get extra amount of people. A baseline, this is what we normally expect, but every month, every 3 months, you can also have larger gatherings. That whatever the council wants, we can try to figure something out.
Those are the things that jumped out at me, but I really think you've done a great job of capturing a lot of the feedback that's been given. And
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Councilmember Desmoni.
Thank you for your presentation. And if I could have my freshman memory refreshed here, we're the first ones doing this ordinance, so we have no frame of reference.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Ms. Vaughn has searched far and wide, has not really found anything.
Yeah, okay. And then just for clarification, we are setting these boundaries, if you will, but we have the opportunity to have exceptions at times for whatever we choose to set currently. So we're deciding, not tonight, but we're setting framework, but within the framework there can be exceptions made on a case-by-case basis, or...
Well, that's sort of what the middle category is designed for. There's bright line numbers where if you're under that, you can operate. If you're in the middle category, then you can sort of lay out your business plan, your mitigation, why your property is special, and make a case that they should have higher limits, essentially.
So I would say that then I agree with Councilmember Steinmetz that we should tweak some of these numbers, but we also are shooting in the dark here. So I think this is a great starting point, and then maybe we just kind of evaluate as these come up.
I want to get clarity on that because, and you're right, we are shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
We're like grasping at straws here. The council really won't have a role in this. So when you say evaluate as these things come up, it really lives, either it's allowed by right, basically, or it's reviewed by staff, or it's the CUP process, which goes to a hearing examiner. So council isn't really part of this, so you won't, I mean, I guess we can tell you how things are going, and if we're running into problems, like, bring it back, but I just want to make sure you know, like, you're not
Right,
gonna
so-
see these.
Right, so that's why I use the word exception and evaluate.
You won't see the exceptions.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm trying to understand.
Okay, yeah,
right?
perfect.
So now we're gonna just choose what we think probably most likely is gonna work, and then we're gonna find out later how it went. Awesome. I like everything about it.
Councilmember Harris.
I mean this as the highest compliment, but in my field, we would call this a suicide mission, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you for making the effort. But the word that stuck out to me was objectivity. There is nothing objective about it. The entire thing is just, and that's why I didn't support it. But for now, I'm just getting what would be the process? Would somebody apply for a business license and then sort of check a box saying, I want to do an amenity rental? How would that, I'm just trying to get have you thought that through?
We haven't really figured that out yet, because we wanted to find out if this was even an approach council's interested in. If so, we can bring back, like, what does that really look like as a process?
I'm just, because I'm assuming, like, if you check a box, then one range of fees then applies, and then if you check the middle box, then, I mean, there's a certain, self-regulation kind of aspect to this, correct? I mean, you choose your box, and then somebody.
Well, when business licenses come in, there is a review process on that.
Okay.
But we can look, I mean, we need to flesh this out. We've spent tremendous amount of staff time on this. And so we don't want to keep spending staff time if you're like, we hate this approach. But if you like it, we'll come back with that level of detail.
I'm trying to think in terms of the city, the staff time. That's exactly my point, is that it will be up to a person to review this, and then regardless of what box you check, then set the parameters. You won't be able to just choose your own adventure, is what I'm.
Yes, we'll have to have someone really look at it to see, like, did you check the right thing? Because what you're proposing is not that category. Yes, that will happen.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. Well done. I, on the other hand, from my colleagues, think that I do like the three-tiered approach. I think the numbers are very excessive in all of them, and they need to be looked at and lowered. And I'll just give you some background. I live half a block away from the North Hill Community Center, and the amount of trash that's produced on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, the lack of parking for the people that are allowed to attend, and then the calls for service for noise complaints, and the stuff that I hear from my neighbors. And it's a residential area. I get that it's grandfathered in, but allowing stuff like that to happen in other residential areas that you've moved to the area not to have that, it needs to be monitored, and regulations need to be put on it. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Bloss.
Yeah, thank you. I really like the approach, the three-tiered approach. Like Councilmember Nutting, I think it should be lowered. I think for the first limited category, no more than once a week, maybe 20 people. That would not put a damper on the neighborhood. I don't think they really affect the neighborhood. The second category, I'm not really sure. I don't think every day. I think that's too much, allowing something every day, but 2-3 times a week, I think. That's where I'm at.
Checking to see if anyone else would like to say. Okay, Councilmember Harris.
I have just one more comment. I was thinking about flights, and I'm not being flip here. I don't think that the number of people are a good demarcation, because you could open a business that is like where you rent out your property to Benedictine monks, and that's a very different use case from children having parties with Chuck E. Cheese and so forth. And so just numeracy doesn't necessarily, and I'm just concerned at any way you quantify this by application, number of people. It should somehow be, there should be something like that. Thank you.
All right. I would like to say thank you very much for these approaches as well. I will say outright that most cities have a sort of a Goldilocks approach where they have said either we're going to ignore it or we're going to ban it. And we asked for something that was just right, maybe in the middle. And that's a tough place to find. And so I am willing definitely to listen to folks who are saying we might need to bring these thresholds down. And I will say, again, we're not going to be reviewing the business applications, but if the staff come to us or residents come to us and say this is now an issue and not enough is being addressed, as policymakers and as folks who are in charge of ordinances, this is definitely something that we can revisit in the future, but I will not be reviewing the business licenses. At least, please don't make me do that. Absolutely not. But thank you very much. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 3, future capital improvement projects update. And we have with us today Civil Engineer Alex Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
Before Mike comes up, a couple things, because we've gotten lots of questions from both council and community members about this item. So this presentation is going to talk about 4 projects that are at different stages in like how cooked they are. So 2 of them are like further along, and then we have 2 that are very conceptual. And so I wanted to give some feedback as to kind of where these came from and the thought process. So previous direction and real feedback we've received from the council is don't get so far along in the design of a project that by the first time council or the public sees it, like a lot of money has been spent and things are already set. I see a nodding heads. Okay. So we're bringing you 2 projects that are purely conceptual. And the trade-off for us showing you something so early is the cost estimates are real estimates, triple underlined, because we haven't done any design or engineering. We also haven't done any public engagement because we want to show it to the council first. Here's an idea for a project. Is this something you're interested in us spending time and money on? If it is, then we'll go fully through public engagement. If it's not, no problem, we won't spend more time on it. So I am going to ask for like a little bit of grace on like the level of detail you're going to see on the conceptual projects because we're trying to respond to the direction we got from you all. That you want to see stuff earlier, just keep in mind, I mean, this is really as good as like the paper it's on. Not that SOMAS did not do very valuable work, but yeah. All right, Mike.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here tonight with a mixed team. I'm just basically doing an introduction, which is I'm pretty happy to do. So SOMAS has done a lot of work for us throughout the city. You know, the biggest example that I like to show out, and Fung is here and did it, is the sign on 216th and Pack Highway. So those types of things, also the Memorial Triangle. So SOMAS has done a lot of our design concepts for the Waterland City theme throughout the city. They've done really, really good work. And the people that are here today representing SOMAS are Paul Fussell. He's a senior urban planner and designer. And we've asked for his expertise with regards to the conceptual projects in particular. And Fung Nguyen, who is here, and she's been working for several years now. She's briefed the council before on the Midway Park project, which is our most mature project you're going to see today. We're response to design. We're at 90% design. And then also she worked on portions of the 223rd Streetscape that we looked at. That's also a project that is up to about 10% conceptual, so it's more than the others, but it's still very, very early in its phases. And then finally on the team that's going to present tonight is Alex Johnson, and he's one of our staff engineers, and he's been kind of finagled into, he really is good at this park stuff and these project pieces, and so we're playing him to his strengths to be the project manager on a lot of these things. So with that, I'll hand it over to Paul.
Good evening, Council and Mayor, and thank you, Mike. So just briefly, both Fung and I are urban designers and landscape architects. And we share a professional passion working together the past 15 years on creating quality municipal open space and transportation projects. So these 4 projects that we're going to talk about today fit right in the sweet spot of what we really love to do for our careers. So I'm going to jump now in. Today we're going to provide a status update on the 2 existing projects, as Mike said, Midway Park and South 223rd Complete Street. And then we'd like your guidance and affirmation on the conceptual projects that we've maybe overdeveloped, but enough thinking so that you will have an understanding what Cliff Avenue Connector and Redondo Esplanade and Plaza can be. And in that regard, we had real good collaboration with Alex and Fung, myself, and Mike to kind of formulate all the things that need to be thought about. I'm going to do a quick basin overview, then Fung will provide project briefings of the 4 projects. Alex will finish up with the finance and schedules, the next steps, and discussion. So the plan that you see on the right side is from the city's Surface Water Comprehensive Plan, and as Waterland City, we thought it would be interesting to show where the locations of these projects are based upon the drainage basins or the watersheds. The red line outline that you see there is the city limits, and the blue outlines are the different creek basins that are within the city boundaries. There's actually 7 watersheds, 5 hold creeks, and 2 are direct outflows to Puget Sound. And for those who want to have a clear understanding of the geology of the city, geography, I should say, the east side is higher than the low side, which drains towards Puget Sound. The first project, Midway Park, is at the high point of the Massey Creek Basin. And then downstream, right in the heart of downtown, is the South 223rd Complete Street project. Adjacent to it, leading to Beach Park, is the Cliff Avenue Connector. And then in the Redondo Creek Basin is the Redondo Esplanade and Plaza, which is right on Puget Sound. So with that, I'll hand it off to Fung.
Thank you, Paul. It's a good overview. As Paul pointed out, Midway Park is at the highest point of the watershed within the Pacific Ridge neighborhood. It's a project that adapts to the evolving needs of the community as well as everything beyond that. So we've done a lot of good work in this project so far, and it's in a neighborhood that's tucked between I-5 and SR-99. And it's right off of the transit of SR-99, but it's on your way to go to the light rail that's, to come. So it's kind of a bypass park, but it's also a park that a lot of people are very well aware and have it's kind of been stuck with the stigma of being unsafe over time and forgotten and unloved. But as we've seen through a lot of the outreach, a lot of people are there. A lot of people are using the park. So it is a place to gather, but there's limitations to it. So there's a lot of lacking amenities, and I can go through how much more we have improved since then to improve that. But aside from this project, so in 2022 to 2020 to 2025, King County provided, they passed the Parks Levy, and that provided a grant that allowed acquisition of 3 properties.
Oh, okay.
And so the project became a reality to a lot of people. The master plan was developed. But along with this project here, if you look to the east side of it, we've taken the opportunity to kind of look at this further, and actually it was Mike's idea to kind of see what we can do with this leased property. So an opportunity for creating a soccer field. We know right now currently the Sounders Ray Foundation throws their clinic there. So something to kind of capitalize on that, but also that it's such an accessible sport, soccer is in many ways, and having an opportunity in an open field, that just brings more opportunities to the space. So as I mentioned, 2022-2027 was the master plan. We kind of went ahead and initiated some of the outreach before the contract got executed with SOMAS. This was when we were KPG SOMAS, and I was here telling everyone about the story. But to rehash it all again, we did a lot of the outreach during the the spring and the summer, which really capitalize on people, family, and just the events that are happening. So the farmers market, the Ray Foundation Clinic, as well as the extravaganza event in March. That all led to a culmination of concepts that we created. So 3 concepts, we rolled out 2 themes that was showed to the public, and that got moved into 60-30% design, and that's when I provided the update to council back in August, 2 years ago. And currently, right now, we're at final design, so it's at 90%, so we've led up to that point from 60 to 90. That's kind of the backstory of that. And again, here are some pictures of the 3 outreach that we've done. We did quite a bit. We did a dot exercise that we went to and did at 3 different events during different times of the year. So hopefully, to that end, it's really to gather inclusive feedback from everyone at wherever it is that they're at. And what I got out of this whole experience was, honestly, it's just a community effort. Reaching out to the community. This is a community park, so the information that we gathered was really helpful in the design. And the Lookout was a concept that was a preferred concept for the park. The park is in a special spot where it has really nice mature trees. It's in a high point, like as I said earlier, but it also overlooks the Olympics. So Lookout is kind of like, it's really accentuating the idea. And, if there's a tower to climb up, the kids were really excited about that idea. If you climb up this tower, then you can see the view beyond, and then also the open space that's there. So a couple ideas. A lot of key improvements, as I mentioned. There was a lot of wish lists that everyone had, and a few rose to the top, many of which created a lot of activation through the park. So I'm going to go through the next couple of visuals here, and I'll just point out a few key features that you can see. But overall, as you can see, the park on the right side where the existing sports court is, that is the existing area, and then on the left side, on the west side of the park, that's pretty much all new. And a lot of the layout, because of the grant we received for the open space grant, required us to only have maybe 15% or so of impervious surface. So to maintain as much open space as possible, and that was kind of the challenge, and also the fun part of it, is how to weave in all these amenities and create spaces that make sense. So moving over the smaller kids' play structure to another cluster where we can have a larger kid adventure play area, and consolidating some of the spaces so you do have the open space and you can capitalize on that view of the Olympics. That's something that we looked at. So from plan view, you can see it for what it is, but when you get into the park, there's a lot of potential. And now from more of a bird's eye view, you can see kind of that space and how it's oriented to each other. So starting clockwise on the top at 12 o'clock is the 2 pickleball courts that we put in. That was an overwhelming vote, I have to say. And that will keep the park activated day and late in the evening, and then really is an accessible sport. It's a low entry level sport that anyone can kind of get into. It's got sports activated lighting. To the 2 or 3 o'clock there, it's that sports court that's there already, so kind of clustering that together. And then right behind that is the dog park area. We couldn't put the dog park into the new acquired parcel, so that was put back in the existing parcel, but yeah, that's actually a nice spot because it's shaded. It's great for dogs to kind of go in and out, but it also is kind of privately and kept off and not near any of the neighbors. So we were trying to think about how spaces interact and how people and different users interact. And then when you go down towards the west side, where we have on-street parking that's also ADA accessible, we also have accessible playground equipment with an accessible route that weaves through the pass. There's some challenges to this topography, but we made it work with our grades, with some walls that made sense and some cut-through paths. So it becomes more of a, an obstacle for kids, but more of a discovery to them to go through the park. And then on the north side, looking down, so currently right now, I think the city's on their 4th porta potty. I think a lot of it is due to, behaviors that's unwanted. People that, we worked with the community service officers. They expressed their desire and needs for cameras, lighting, a robust restroom facility that they can, utilize and kind of oversee. So there's a lot of nice lighting incorporated throughout the park, as well as facilities that are durable. Mentioned the pickleball courts here, and then zooming back out, the underlining theme and goal of this park is really safety, connection and above all, just love for this park so that, over time it's well maintained, but also that people are here. It's a destination park. It has all the amenities that not just the Pacific Ridge neighborhood can go to, but beyond. And it's been shown to be that case with a lot of the program that's currently out there, with the Sounders Rave kind of attracting a lot of people from all over the Puget Sound to go to some of the summer clinics. We've talked to a lot of people that went to that clinic, and they're coming all the way down from Tacoma from Linwood to go to this clinic. So we're seeing a lot of people that don't actually live in Des Moines come to Des Moines for that reason. And I mentioned safety through the park. If you're going from the bus route on SR 99, you're cutting through, you're going to feel like it's a nice spot to kind of cut through and not walk on SR 99 all the way over to the light rail. So nice cut through for everyone, but also just a place to even have to stay for a moment before you go to your next destination. Okay, on to the second project, South 223rd. Yeah?
Could we ask questions just between rather than just,
We'd prefer council held all questions until the end. I'll be summarizing these and kind of showing you where we're at, and then we'll be opening it up for full discussion. But we're happy to backtrack to any slide that you want to look back at, if you don't mind.
That would be fine. Thank you. That's appreciated, but, I'll just keep going until we get to the end. Okay, so the second one is South 223rd Street, and this is moving towards the water. This project aims to connect pedestrians to the waterfront and downtown. So here you have a view of downtown and the Marina waterfront area. North is to your left, just to orient everyone a little bit. The project on 223rd is highlighted in red, as you can see, and it's very hard to see at this. I don't know if this clicker works, does it? Okay. It's hard to see, but this blue outline is what we're defining as a subset of the basin that's there. So the basin that Paul was talking about is much larger. This is a subset of the basin that's there. And the goal of which, so 223rd is aimed to provide safety, accessibility, and convenience for roadway users, whether that's bicyclists, pedestrians, vehicles, transit users. An equal part of this project is to treat some of the subset of that stormwater on 223rd, removing pollutants. And so back in 2022, council approved the planning study for this project. We did do a reach out to the public through online survey. We did a lot of education through a website that was tailored for this project to really describe to the public what this type of street will do and how it functions. And then we also did some cultural resource. We knew that there may be some tribe-sensitive items near this area, so we did that as well as geotech to analyze the soil and make it so that we can evaluate the usability and the performance for bioswales in treating water. And since then, we provided a 10% report as well as a cost estimate. There was a study of the report that was presented to council in 2024, and then here we are right now with the current update. And then, of course, that was 2024 since the last update. So that 2-year cycle, we attempted to get additional grants for the project, one of which we got was the ecology grant, and right now it's under agreement for negotiating for a contract that may start in January next year. So that's going to take a little while until that really starts. And that ecology grant covers for a portion of the design, and Alex can go into that further. But as I said, we went and did some online outreach and had 3 concepts, one of which this is the preferred Waterland City concept. The project spans from Marine View Drive over to Overlook 1, and it's also the connection to where the marina steps are. One of the goals of this project is really to create a lot of safety on this road. The road right now currently is a straight shot down towards the waterfront, but also is a straight shot for a lot of people to move really fast. There's also there's a couple of sidewalk connections, but some that are pretty much obsolete. No one's really seen, or there's no sidewalk. There's gravelly roads. There's puddles of water and utility grids that are also in the way towards the last block on the 5th over to the Overlook. So there's a lot of disconnected infrastructure for pedestrians, bicyclists, more geared towards the road. So in this concept, we made the roadway alignment a little bit more sinuous, but also we raised the intersections, and that intent is to also make it more pedestrian friendly, but also as a sense of traffic calming for the space. So now, if you keep on going on to 223rd, you're going to hit Cliff Ave, and this project for the Cliff Ave connector so we're saying it's a connector, but it's also connecting users to the Overlook 1, from the Overlook 1 to Overlook 2, also to the beach park. The goals for this project is, again, the idea of safety, accessibility, and multimodal connections along Cliff Ave. And right now, this is, as we mentioned earlier, this is highly conceptual. We've just touched the surface. So everything I'm showing you is just high level. Take it forward as we did have a few people weigh in on considerations as far as transportation planning, urban design, landscape architecture, archaeological, environmental permitting, et cetera. And we put it all in a memo to outline all the considerations for this project, but nothing further has been dove into. So when I said we've tried to look at the connection from Overlook 1 to Overlook 2, there's several ways you can connect to those two parks, right? And not only that, it's the connection down to the beach park. The way you can also connect it, so we looked at B and C, which is this purple here and this purple here. It's obviously a unviable route, as we saw, with the steep grades and, just the sensitivity along the hillside slope. That became something that we didn't feel was viable for the project. Route A became the prioritized route that we were then tasked to kind of look into more. And this is Route A, as you can see, with Cliff Ave coming up from 5th down towards the beachfront, and then this is 5th looking up. So if you're going to try to go from Overlook 1 to Overlook 2, you'd have to try to make your way up here. And I hear earlier that, there is some lacking sidewalks there, right? It's a comfortable walk on this side of the street. Why can't we just park or walk on this side? So there's a lot of possibilities there as well. Not to mention the walk towards Cliff Ave, as you're walking, there's a pole in your way, there's utilities. It's not just the friendliest view as you're going towards, you wouldn't know there's a beach park there unless you're there, right? So there's a building right there blocking your view. So there's not a great experience as you're walking down. And again, this looks a little more finished, but it's really not. It's just an overlay and super conceptual. But the idea is to create a little bit more generous space, elevate this up a little higher, so you do have a pathway going up to Overlook 2, and a nice, consistent, elevated path going down towards Beach Park that's accessible, easy to get to through multiple ramps. We have looked at the grades, and we evaluated, made a quick civil 3D model of it, and it is ADA compliant in that regard. And here's a photo sim of it. Again, very rough, napkin sketch still, but you can see there's a sidewalk connection up 5th Ave. This sign actually really is that big. It's right there, so it remains. And then because we're creating more of a generous corner here, we're also creating better sight lines. So cars going up or down 5th can look around, and you're not, turning blindly into a space, especially when there's a big event happening at the beach park. This park gets packed and people are leaving, and it's not a friendly walk in that 3-foot wide sidewalk that's currently there right now. And yet we have not touched the travel lanes, but this is where they're at right now, and they will remain where they are. And so as I mentioned, that elevated pathway is actually sitting on the current pathways right now. It's going to kind of eat in a little bit, but I think we'll have to look into that. And as I mentioned earlier, the considerations for the slopes and stabilization, any kind of permitting required, we've already documented and just outlined it for the city's consideration. And you can't have a wall without some nice placemaking elements, right? Something to tell the story of, hey, you're going down to the waterfront, and then having some nice railings that are comfortable, maybe some lighting so that you can kind of see in the late evening as you're going up. Some ideas on that right there as well. We'd love to hear some more from you guys later. Okay, last project, Redondo, another conceptual project. This project is right at the waterfront. You are literally interacting with the waterfront. The goal is honestly, the initial goal is really to replace failing infrastructure right at the waterfront. So from Salties on northward towards the north end of this journey, you'll end at this plaza space. But before you get there, you're walking, and it's not the best of walk. My parents live in this neighborhood, so I go in this space all the time, so I can commiserate with any locals that feel this way. But when the tides are up, you're just allowed to walk in this space, and you have some separation, not much, but at times there's cars whipping by. It's not a comfortable walk, but a lot of the seawall that's currently there right now is not doing so well. And so the intention is to fix the failing infrastructure, improve some pedestrian accessibility amenities along here, and then look for, oh gosh, I kind of jumped ahead. And as you can see in the space on the right here, look for an opportunity to feel like you belong there, can be there, right? I mean, these candlesticks that you see out there, they're there for a reason right now because it's to deter a lot of behavior that's not necessary there, and people are parking that shouldn't park there, and it's a way to mitigate the issues but not really solve anything or provide opportunity. And that's where this layout kind of comes in. With the new Esplanade, it's going to be a nice, friendlier walk, just like the South Side Esplanade right now. It's elevated, it's protected, it's got a railing with lighting in it that will be fixed soon, right, Mike? And then going up northward, you get this nice, generous space here, but what to do with it? It's really, it becomes a flexible zone, so it allows for fire access. So we've kind of conceptually looked at this. Right now, you can get fire access truck around this corner and up. Haven't fully engineered it, but conceptually, this is what it's looking like, and that you can have the space be open and available for the public to feel like they can be there. There is a journey there that ends in some kind of destination, right? And when you get there, there's something to do. Maybe it's looking at a piece of art or something that really represents this local community, or it's just hanging out on the bench or throwing rocks, and then you can turn around and know that you've already kind of accomplished something at the end of that journey. So, again, love to hear some feedback, but I do want to say right now that I've been doing this for 20 years, and all the projects I've done is all public projects, and these are great 4 projects that you guys have right now to think about, and 2 others to kind of consider moving forward. And it's been a joy for me to honestly work with Mike and Alex and Paul and the rest of the team at the city. It's seriously been a joy, and I look forward to continue working and finishing the rest of it. So, yeah, without further ado, Alex, talk about some funding and status.
Thank you, Fung. Hello, Mayor. Hello, Council. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Alex Johnson. I'm a staff civil engineer and the capital improvement project manager for our surface water utility. Now that you know what we are talking about, I'm here to talk about a bit of the nuts and bolts, which is how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. As you can see up here, we have a table that kind of quickly summarizes what Mike told you at the beginning, which is where each project stands. Midway Park is the furthest along. We have achieved 90%, and I will be coming back in towards the end of this month with a contract to complete the design for that for your approval. The all-in costs, the cost estimates on the far right table are the all-in costs, so that is planning, scoping, engineering, right-of-way, any sort of acquisition that's needed, and construction. As you can see, Midway Park is pretty dialed in at a $6.3 million, and our next 3 projects have ranges and that asterisk. I will echo everything that our city manager said and say that these are best guesses. We are trying to be conservative without scaring anyone away, and without being able to predict the future of when these projects will be ready for construction and what the economics of the world will be happening at that point. 223rd Complete Street is at 10% design. As Fung mentioned earlier, we have been awarded a Department of Ecology grant that would get us to 90% of the stormwater design because it is a water quality grant. But because the project does not have any design work completed yet, we're also able to use that to get to 30% of the overall design to allow us to figure out where things are going to fit together in space, because you can't design 90% of stormwater without knowing where your right-of-way is going to be. And then with Cliff Ave and Redondo, this is the world premiere of both of these projects. You're getting it first, so we are incredibly interested to know your thoughts on the projects, affirmations with the proof of concept and the direction we're looking at, and if you support staff pursuing these projects further. Here's another graphical representation showing you where each project is. As you can see, grant pursuits is a majority of what each of them is showing on this graph. As it stands, we are not, all 4 projects are planned to be minimally city funded, if not entirely grant funded. And so that is why those are such big tentative blocks of time between this year and next year into the future. Now a bit about how capital projects are funded. So in the state of Washington, most of the tax dollars actually get sent to the state and to the county, and it is up to cities like Des Moines to make a case to Olympia or to King County for specific programs or projects, and to ask for funds through a variety of grant programs. A project starts once city staff have worked with a consultant to identify potential projects around the city based on citizen input, based on the status of infrastructure, based on public comment, and we now will take those concepts to council, as you've seen with Cliff Ave and with Redondo, to get your concurrence. Once we have a green light on a project, we start actually thinking about what the project will look like. We start to plan and scope it, and then that helps us identify grants at the local, county, state, and federal level to help fund that project, and we can start putting together the puzzle pieces of how to get to those dollar amounts from the previous slide. This is a graphical representation of the actual funding that we've gone through for Midway Park that kind of demonstrates that process. So as you can see at the bottom, back in 2019, we were awarded the first dollars for the project, and that was to acquire the parcels on the west side of the park property to add those to the eventual park design. In 2023, we were awarded the first King County grant that went to the original design contract for this work. And then in 2025 and 2026, we got some additional funding that will both finish out the design and go into construction. Beyond 2026, we have an application for a grant that will be completed at the end of this month, and another one planned for later this year. And then we're also looking at I have to remind myself of the exact acronym, the Outdoor Recreation and Legacy Partnership, which is a federal grant program that we would apply through our State Recreation and Conservation Office. Lots of words, no wonder they have acronyms. I won't exhaustively read through this list, but this is just a bit of our homework. This is the kind of thing that we will generate when we get a project to figure out what the possible grant programs are at those various levels, and then this would further generate a list of any requirements for these grants, such as studies, matching funds, things like that. And then that is what allows the project team to kind of cobble together and figure out which pieces we need and which ones fit together to get that full funding for a project. Here's just a quick summary of the next steps for each project. I won't rehash that, but I'll leave it on this screen for now, and I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity and for your time, and we will open the floor for discussion and comments and questions.
Councilmember Nutting.
Thank you all for the presentation. It was great. I like hearing where we're at and where we're going. I'll just start at the top. Midway Park, everybody knows, I think, that that's a park that's near and dear to my heart. I've barbecued for I don't know how many years for National Night Out, including handing out full pizzas to, I think it was 70 pizzas that we handed out to families during COVID. So I'm excited to see that move forward. 223rd has been a discussion for as many years as I can to make that a safer street. Again, Cliff Avenue, I'm excited to see that move forward, and I would suggest that we move forward with that. Again, connecting our pedestrians safer to get from downtown into the beach park and to enjoy our wonderful waterfront, I think is a no-brainer, and same with the Redondo Esplanade. So I'm excited to see these 4 projects move forward, and that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see here. I warned you, go back to the Midway thing. Go zip, 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 zip. I'm sorry, okay, wait, keep going. Yeah, keep going. One more. That's it. So, my one comment is just that I think the stairs are back and the ramp are backwards, because the majority of Mas with their prams and stuff like that, they're coming down from the apartments, and so you would want them to sort of, zip up the ramp and then have the stairs on the other side. But that's just me. The majority of parents and stuff are going to, no, stay on the side. I can't see this stuff, so just stay where you were. Okay, see the bike at the far right? That's where the people come from. They're coming from the south into the park. So they would want to go up the ramp rather than having to go past the steps and then over here and then schlep up. They would want to do the thing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't, I'm just.
We actually, if you saw our earlier renditions, we had it flipped. When we checked the grades, it's better to have the ramp slope up from the north. Than to make it ADA. If you did it from the south, it wouldn't be ADA because it's a steeper slope on the south, so the stairs take care of that.
Interesting.
From the north, it's really steep. You have to kind of ramp it up gently.
Yeah.
If you did it from the south, it wouldn't make it ADA. So we're creating all pathways that are ADA throughout the park. With the exception of the one behind, you see the far path behind, that's the recreation route. A little bit, it's a switchback kind of thing, and that's for the kids and the little bikes and things like that. But everywhere throughout the park is ADA.
Yeah. By the way, just super well done on that. Regarding the 223rd, what is the actual stormwater functionality? Is that rewiring 223rd or anything north and south as well?
Yeah, so that, it's really hard to see on this screen. I believe when you, if you have the presentation electronic.
No, I'm just remembering back, the original thing was to literally rewire the entire thing north and south, and it was far more elaborate from a plumbing standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to get a sense of is the plumbing aspect of this strictly 223rd at this point?
No. So there's a light blue outline in about what I'm tracing right here, and this is the effective treatment area of what we have scoped for the 223rd project. So this is the we'll call it the piece of the overarching basin that this project would be directly treating for water quality.
But is there digging in that area as well?
Yes.
Only on 223rd.
Yes.
Not in the blue.
That's what I'm driving at. Thank you. Okay, so the digging is 223rd.
Correct.
So if you zoom back out, so that the bigger picture is the whole watershed's bigger, right? But the blue area is a subset of that watershed, and currently right now, all the water that's in that blue area has been piped.
Yeah.
And all that piped water is going straight into Puget Sound. It is not being treated.
And it's collected on 223rd, and then it's dropped right.
Yeah, no, and I'm not, I know where the pipes go now. I was just, you gotta understand, 3 years ago, this was a totally different thing, and so forgive me. Let's see here, go to the Cliff Avenue thing, and the only thing I'd just be mindful of is that, to me, the pivot where like you either go past the condos into the beach park or to the fishing pier, it's like a three-way corner. And I don't know what you could do about it, but that's just sort of, that always struck me as just being this spot. If you could do something about it magically, I don't know what, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? It just always seems to me. Yeah.
We did look at it and we assessed it in every way possible, roundabouts, mayabouts.
Well, you knew about the stairs, so I believe you.
But I think ultimately, when there's a major event happening,
Yeah.
if you just have that flagger stay on for another 2 hours, it would mitigate a lot of the traffic that's there already. And people will be having alternative paths to go through safely. Are these projects laid out according to priority?
No, they are laid out according to current status. So Midway being the furthest along, we wanted to start with that, the most concrete. 223rd has a 10% plan. And then as far as the order of presentation goes, Cliff, Ave, and Redondo are interchangeable. But for the sake of the geography and the story, we do follow a east to west and north to south in the presentation.
Okay, last but not least, do you have like an estimated like end of life on the seawall in Redondo?
We're still consulting right now. We have not even shipped into that.
He means for the,
for the wall.
Yeah, I don't have this.
No,
I'll come up and take that one. So the north about 200 feet of the wall, from a structural standpoint, has functionally failed already. It's standing there, but if you take a look at it, we had a council member down there just this morning. Part of it's already failed to fall onto the beach. The rest is severely cracked, settling, and going in. So it's standing there, but from an engineering design point, it has failed already.
Not holding up anything anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No. And so where this project, the project on Redondo is not only a pedestrian level project and opportunity, it's really driven by something that's already failed.
Okay, then my just little comment is that just internally maybe develop a different word besides estimate for these things. I don't know what it would be, but just consistently something more respectful than wild ass guess, but just because talking about an estimate at this point is, yeah. Anyway, that's it. This is great.
I'll claim responsibility for that. I said we will be needing some sort of number to go with this, so they did that against their will. Councilmember Steinmetz.
Yeah, very nice presentation. These are great projects from the conceptual to, all the way up to what you've done at Midway Park, and really putting a lot of nice pieces together that are going to create very attractive, very welcoming spots in our city that really help bring us into the 21st century, because so much of this city is so old. And so I like a lot of these concepts. But a couple of things that kind of stood out to me. I'm still a little confused about the pickleball courts at Midway Park. Is the community really going to use them? Because the places that you went,
Can you come to the mic, because it won't pick up for the recording?
Mm-hmm.
We heard an astounding vote for the pickleball. I think it was the top 3.
like the extravaganza and the farmers market, that's not necessarily people who are right there in that community. Did you do any kind of specific?
Well, when we did an open house on site, that was our first round of votes, actually. We did that right on site because we were like, hey, you know what, we should just do the open house here. And then we used different colored dots at each event thereafter to kind of see where the votes were coming from. just, just for our knowledge, because we knew right there if we did, right on boots on the ground community votes, they'd probably be weighted a little bit more because they are the direct users. And we did it right when they did the summer clinic, but we also had people that were there for the after-school program. So a lot of families and a lot of kids voted. So the kids that were there, that were in the neighborhood, were living directly from all those multifamily housing and residents.
Okay. And
Sorry.
the other, yeah, and the other consideration, at least, that just kind of, this is what caught my eye up there, is having the lights in the park, and you've got the housing right across the street on that, and how do you control so that you're not, creating a light disruption for the housing across?
Yeah, we're very sensitive about lights when it comes to parks especially. They are on a time system, and so like how lighting is different through the winter and through the summer. They have photo cells, so they're triggered by the light, but they also have, when they're lit up at night right immediately and it gets dark, it's not so bright, it's actually dimmed down even further. The bollard lights that are throughout the small pathways actually are activated by motion sensors, so they're not on all the time. They're only on when they need to be. But the site lighting that's higher up at 12 feet, they're really set down low so your eye doesn't get distracted or you have glare when you're walking and approaching someone. But above all, just for the neighborhoods, a lot of lights will have house-side shields, so they're shielding the light from getting to your windows. And that's what we do typically on roadways too, but more so for parks to make sure the lights are oriented and beamed in the right direction.
Okay. And then kind of just moving on, because I'll just go through all 4 projects. The 223rd Complete Street we've been talking about for an awfully long time, and I think it's a really wonderful concept. It's also really expensive. I mean, it's by far the most expensive project up there. And do you think there are going to be enough grant funding available for us to be able to complete that project? And is there any way to tell? Because if we're going to get to, 90% sewer and 30% concept, and then find out, wow, we've got another, $7 million to go, and there's no grant money available, or it won't be there for, who knows how long. How do we adjust with that on a project that big and that funding? I see Mike's nodding.
So I'll take that one. So the thought process that we've been working on this, because the project was really already started with the 10%. And so we've been in the design and in the grant pursuit phase for quite some time. One of the things that you've seen earlier, and I mentioned it in a previous presentation earlier this year, is that we're doing the safety plan, the regional and the local safety plans for pedestrian safety in that area, because there's a lot of numbers showing, cross connects during events between pedestrians and the parks and the things we do down on the waterfront. So we're trying, the grant we're specifically shooting for is the SS4As, the Safe Streets for All grants. Federal grants much larger. There's no guarantee we're going to get it, right? But you don't get it if you don't play, right? It's like the lotto. And so we're going for SS4As. You're looking at $8, $10, $12 million to have a project of that size, and so it's in the ballpark for that. It's actually a smaller project if you're going for these federal grants. It may score high because we're a regional waterfront entry point, and so there's those types of things. If we don't get the grants, you're right. These projects may sit for quite some time, but that's how you create the project. You work the project, you stick with the project, and you go for the granting dollars. The local municipalities can't build projects like this out of general fund dollars. Obviously, we all know that. And so, but that's how you build, design, sell these projects to the granting agencies to self-fund, and that's really part of what we're trying to do with most of these projects. At the end, there may be some small match that we have to try to find and come back to you for, but the goal is to get it 90-95% funded.
And what about, I appreciate the pedestrian issue. Couldn't a lot of that be solved just by putting in good sidewalks all the way up then, with better crossing spots? And I'm just, if this ends up sitting.
No, you absolutely, sir. The city could make a decision that we're going to streamline this, try for different grants, and just shoot down straight, instead of going complete street, go straight sidewalks and go traditional. That is an option, but items like then the stormwater grant we're going with, you wouldn't be able to be capturing that stormwater, cleaning that water, hence the term complete street, is you're trying to utilize the project and the property to maximize all the uses of the street, you know, whether it's stormwater quality, pedestrian, traffic calming, all of those different things.
Thank you.
And then
Can I go to someone and come back to you?
I still got the other two.
Oh,
Everybody else is coming.
oh, I'm sorry, yes. Thank you, go for it then.
If I can come back. But I think the Cliff Avenue connector, I really like, and I think it's really needed. You know, you mentioned pedestrian safety. You know, that is one of the more dangerous places, just because that's a tiny 3-foot sidewalk going down there. I've walked in the street, you know, because people are coming up and there's just not enough space to pass. So I really would like to see that moved up significantly in priority. I think, and there's a good reason to do that from a safety standpoint, but also because we're hoping to utilize more and more the marina and get more people down there, and they need to feel safe about going that. Redondo Esplanade, another really lovely concept. I like that idea. The one thing that did catch my eye is, are we creating congregation spaces down there? And if so, we have, you know, apartments and condos right across the street. And part of the reason we have the little poles that are up there, you know, was to stop people from congregating and parking their cars there. And now are we going to go right back and put places for people to congregate by walking to? That's the impression that I got, you know, from this, and maybe we might want to rethink that. It's a great walkway. It needs to be a walkway. As indicated, that wall is failing, and it needs to be addressed pretty quickly. But it just caught my eye that we might be creating the problem that we tried to solve with the sticks in the street.
Totally understand, Councilmember. And so the sticks in the streets, because one of the very first things I was telling people earlier, the very first things I did here was the acting city manager took me down there and said, we have to do something about this. And the driver very much was noise. It wasn't necessarily that it was a congregation or bad. It was the cars would queue up there and rev, motorcycles and cars, and get ready to shoot down the slot, right? So it was really like the start of drag racing, and there's a whole bunch of the noise thing. There's other issues that happen there, absolutely, because that activity was kind of the cause of a lot of that growth or that activity there. You know, there's lots of different things about, do you activate spaces? Do you off-limit spaces? Activated spaces that are done well, and using SEPTED and all those other things can be successful, right? So I think that utilizing the space, activating the space, is a way to help address some of those things, rather than right now it's like everyone just, only the walkers go down, turn around and walk back. Where if you go to the other portions or Wooten, you got more people activating the space, less nefarious activity. And so I think that this would help do that on that end. Again, everything's going to need, you know, everything needs policing. There's always bad actors, all of those different things. But activating a space tends to make the situation, I think, better than worse.
Yeah, and just noting that it's conceptual at this point, that's something to throw into that concept.
Absolutely.
But, you know, like I did say, these are really lovely, good-looking projects that need to be done, and I would encourage moving up those that are going to protect our assets, like that seawall there, and the pedestrians, like on the Cliff Avenue connector. I think those need to get done.
Councilmember Desmone.
So I will refrain from commenting on every single project because I'm still a little bit confused on the ask. You're asking for feedback. Are you asking for our personal priorities? Are you asking about?
We're asking for, well, Midway we're doing, so unless you.
Excellent, okay.
23rd, I think we want to know if there's still council support for this, because we have been awarded an $850,000 grant that we will be bringing for council acceptance. If there's no longer interest in this project, now's the time to tell us. We will decline that grant. And then for Cliff and Redondo, we want to know if you are interested in us actually moving forward with some real engineering design, which helps refine costs, determine feasibility.
So I'm mentally determining for a question that's coming.
Okay.
Yes, that's what we're doing?
Oh, no, we're giving some real direction.
Right, but we're all going to tell you, or I'm gonna tell you which ones are my favorite? I'm confused on what the
Oh, the
feedback you're
process.
asking for.
Okay, so first let me say, are you supportive of the 223rd project?
Well, and maybe to simplify,
I-
maybe if we just focus on Cliff, Ave, and Redondo, because we'll be coming.
Well, I think I think I do want to know where council is on 223rd, because I've gotten some mixed feedback. And if there isn't support there, we should not begin negotiating this grant.
Because so my point is, we can't afford all of this.
Right.
Or are we prioritizing is where I'm trying to.
No, so, Alex, can you go to the slide about how capital projects are funded?
Can I interject as well? It's okay. That's why we're talking about it right now. Absolutely. And this is what we're hashing out. I want to know what is our appetite, how we can prioritize, if there are things that we can drop and move on to. As you know, and I've said this in repeated meetings, I said this in our chat with the mayor, I am interested in shoring up infrastructure that is already failing and getting back to some basic maintenance. We really have some lovely projects that I think are like the icing and the cherry on the top of the cake, but if the cake is slumping off and falling into the ocean on the east side, then what's the point in having a cherry on top? That's my perspective. Now, you all can go your own way on this, but I do need either an estimate of, yes, we want to move forward with this project, or we want to see this one get higher on the priority list, and these are the four that we're talking about for now.
And it isn't, sorry, I don't.
No, it's okay.
It isn't like I am committed to the $7 million. For Redondo and for Cliff, it's really, are you interested in us taking the first step to learn more?
Just a second. Go ahead.
Sorry, so then
No, go ahead.
The question is then, for example, for Redondo, we spoke about an urgency for a structural thing, but we're tying it to an attractive feature. Are we discussing it as a whole then? So it's either we're doing all of this or we're doing none of this.
Well, it's kind of an efficiency issue of,
It really doesn't make sense to have,
To do some of it and not all of it.
well, once you rip it up,
Yes, okay, yes, sorry, okay.
and that is just a concept. It's not, that's not a, there are lots of chances for input. There are lots of chances for us to say, we think this works and we don't. We have lots of chances to go to the community and say, hey, we've done X amount of work on it, and now we need some direction and help with it. So this is at the very, are we moving in this direction? Councilmember Bloss.
Could I just interject one quick thing? Sorry, Mayor. It sounded like you were thinking that maybe, so these projects, I just want to clarify, the projects, the four projects, or I should guess the three that we're asking about, are not mutually exclusive. We are planning on all of them being grant funded, and so none of the three are competing for city funds, and it's not that we have to prioritize one over the other. It's, please look at all of these concepts, which ones are you supportive of, and then each one will be independently analyzed for grants and for financial viability. Sorry for interjecting, but thank you.
And that's quite okay. And the only thing I would add for that is that I do think more projects compete for more time and more staff dedication and funding that goes to certain dedicated things. And so I think it's okay for us to say, this can wait, or this can fall off the priority list. Councilmember Bloss.
Thank you. Midway Park, I love it. It's a area that needs a lot of investment and love from us. I really like new playgrounds and a cool new adventure playground, great for kids. Question for you there on the parking. There's like 10 parking space in it. If the park looks anything like the renderings, you're gonna need yet more parking. Is there more street parking? A lot of people are gonna wanna go there. Just wondering what the, parking situation will be.
There is currently on-street parking.
Yeah.
And the sentiment that we're hearing from the city and even from the community service officer is to get some enclosed parking in the park because
Yep.
people have been parking some of their, third or fourth abandoned car there. And so we've kind of not privatized, but made that more of like a more secure space to park, but also gate off in the evenings when there's no need for parking at the park because the park is essentially closed
Yeah.
in the late evening. So, and then there is actually no formalized parking right now on the west edge. We've actually added that on, and currently right now, folks are parking on both sides of the street. There is no formalized parking at all. So on the west side, anyways, on that street.
You'd have
so-
more street parking up.
Yeah, so the street dead ends, so the street that's across here on the left, that dead ends to the end where I-5 is, and there's on-street parking there.
Okay. South 223rd, it looks nice, but I think it's overly ambitious. I think $13, $17 million, while it would be grant funded, is a risky thing to try to get all these grants. The need is now. We need some safe way to get from downtown to, well, the marina steps are going to open at the end of the year, and we can't wait 5, 10 years to get grant funding to build something. I think we just get a simple sidewalk on 223rd, get that done within the next couple of years. That'd be my thoughts here. Cliff Avenue connector, like the idea. I'm there several times a week. It is unsafe right now. I like how it looks. I like the rendering. I think it's a little too narrow. I'm often down there with a stroller, and you cannot have 2 strollers in 5 feet. And so I think widen it, if we can, a little wider. And the Redondo Esplanade, I think it looks great, and I'm in favor of it.
I'm going to go to Deputy Mayor Oxiger.
Yes, some very good points have been brought up. Midway, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It's, it's great to see that we have all these, great, visualizations of what we can become. The question becomes, what can we afford? And so, the metric that I'm using on this is that some of it has talked about safety and then asset protection. And I think that Midway is quite far along, and there's a definite need in that community. Personally, I don't agree with the pickleball courts. I think that particular location screams for soccer fields and soccer. And yes, we're talking about leased land or something like that, but I'd like to even see another soccer field up there, in addition to what's being planned. But beyond that, when we get into the other issues here, and yes, they are, these 2 projects, Cliff Avenue and Redondo, have popped up in the subsequent discussions here and stuff. Cliff Avenue, I think, is critical. We're putting so much work into the marina floor and the beach park with the estuary coming and everything. We've got to have access for vehicles. I mean, it's critical. Plus the fact that we've basically cut off the through route for traffic with the steps. So there's not a south end access. We've got to have a secure and very safe access to the projects we're putting, or the developments we're doing down on that north end. Redondo is, I think there are some serious questions about the Esplanade and the plaza. That's something that I think really needs to be taken to the public. But that being said, it's a critical asset protection to get that seawall fixed. So, and the bioswale to me is a want versus a need. It's, we do have to have some access or sidewalk consideration, as Councilmember Bloss pointed out. So right now, and then the comment also about staff time. How much are we putting into, you know, we hear constantly about how overburdened the staff is. I'm not saying that's not a critical factor, but, you know, where can we loosen up on some of this stuff? So, to me, if you want a ranking, I'd say we need to go with Midway, Cliff Avenue, then the Redondo seawall thing, and then the bioswale. Not at this time, and especially at the cost. So, at this point, I would really either shelve the bioswale 223rd project.
Councilmember Harris.
You know I love you all deeply, but it would be better to have a few more numbers. I'm very sympathetic to what Councilmember or Deputy Mayor Oxiger just said, but you know, the reason you cut up the street once, because if you have to cut it up again, you're not going to cut it up. So if there were some way where we could make these decisions with the differential between, you know, the one or the other, that would be, but regardless, even if it's grant money, for me, the thing is attention. I mean, somebody is going to have to aggressively spend a lot of time lobbying and all of this other stuff, and there are only so many hours of the day. I've you know, made no secret that activating Cliff Avenue is like, it should have been part of the Marina Steps in the first place, because I see them as all one piece. And I would like that pathway to be twice as wide. I've also, you know, if it were possible, but like that's number one with a bullet, is having that circulation down Cliff Avenue, Marina Steps, and you know, beyond that, I just think that has to take the full attention of the city, and I'm reluctant to talk about you know, all these things, because I don't know how much energy and time everybody has, and if there was a way to just, if somebody told me there was like 100% surety that we could do that Cliff Avenue thing like a boss, I would be like, just do that, and then, you know, we'll talk about the other stuff. I don't know what the balance is, but Cliff Avenue is like, I mean, that's the thing that I heard even during the Marina Steps thing, is that people wanted to have this really awesome thing at the top of 223rd and the great access into the beach park and the fish pier. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Desmone.
I'm new here. I apologize. So I heard crystal clear that this is grant money. It's not coming out of our pockets. Okay, so if I wanted to ask Santa for something, then that's what we're doing here, right? So the park is 90% complete, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a priority. That means it's 90% completely planned, correct? I mean,
I think if I was going to predict which one will be done first, it will be Midway.
Right, okay. So based on the progress that's already been done, shelving that does not make sense.
No, I think we included Midway in this really to give you all an update.
Okay. And so then thinking of the three, I think Alex was saying really we're talking about the three, then I would say that I'm a safety girl and safety first. And I would say our aggression should go towards existing things that are unsafe that need to be more safe. And since it's not coming out of our pockets, I would, you know, let the experts choose what we think we can get to and what we can achieve first and which grants can be fulfilled first, or
we provide the direction. That's what they're asking.
But
us
meaning,
for.
like, if I know that Councilmember Harris said that their grant might be 5 years away, I wouldn't want to prioritize something that's 5 years away. I would want to I'm sorry, I'm,
Yeah, let me help with that. So how we handle that right now is we would not have presented you all things we were not willing, or we did not feel like we had capacity to work on.
Okay.
That being said, it is a very true statement that that is a finite resource. What I would say is, I think I'm sensing, unless, because we haven't gotten to everybody, but I think I'm sensing their support for Cliff and Redondo. So what that means is that we are going to continue seeking grant funding, and it's not like it's like the grant will be specialized sometimes. So we may have been working on this one, but then the grant comes up that's for this type of project, we want something that's on the water, and so we will be pull that one up and let's go. So I'm sensing there's support for those two. What I am unclear on is whether or not the council wants to continue pursuing 223rd as a complete street. So, and why I think we do want some direction tonight is because the grant the city's been awarded, the most recent one, for $850,000 from Department of Ecology, is related to the stormwater function. So if we do the simple sidewalk, we are declining that grant. And that's fine. We need to know that now, because it actually it's not like we get the grant and we just say thanks. There's actually months of negotiation for the grant that we were going to do between now and January. So if we're not going to do this project, then we need to know that now.
Okay. Thank you. I want to say thanks so much for all of your continued work on these projects, and I think it's really exciting to see them getting closer and closer to realization, especially in terms of Midway. I will echo many of the things that Deputy Mayor Oxiger said. We do need to prioritize what limited resources we have. And for me, it's not this is a general fund, this is a marina fund, this is a grant, we think we can get there fund. All of our projects have multiple funding sources. We wouldn't be able to cross the line on many things if we didn't have sometimes 8, 9 funding sources. To me, it's what is safety related and what is essential to protect critical assets. We don't have a choice to let a bulkhead fail and continue to fail. And so to me, it is a matter of prioritizing of the limited resources that we have. And to echo what Deputy Mayor Oxiger said, I'd love to see the completion of Midway Park, and I'm looking forward to being an asset in an underserved community, and also be an amenity if we choose to have, and if there is more development in those areas, following where we think folks are going to move to with the convenience of light rail. It'll be very important to have safe and amenity-filled parks next to those kinds of transit options. I think that Redondo, at least the seawall and the bulkhead are things that we need to address. The design aspect, I will pledge to make sure that we have robust engagement about what the rest of the design looks like so that we can address some of the issues around traffic calming, congregations, illegal use of the road. I think Cliff Avenue absolutely is going to become a lifeline for folks getting in and out of the beach park. I take that turn really, really wide because I am afraid of turning right into folks who are walking up that hill, and many times they're walking in the street because that's where they feel safest, and there's lots of congestion there as well. And I think that that I agree that 223rd is like a cherry on top. It is like a wonderful project that I can see so many positive things. I don't know that I'm willing to put that much effort into it when we could be using it for delayed maintenance, infrastructure that is failing, and things that absolutely need our attention now. Anything else that you need from us?
I actually do need some heads.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can do that.
I'm tallying.
Yep.
But we're split.
What? Sure.
You presented the Redondo as sort of an, all-inclusive thing. Is there any reason that you couldn't spread it, turn it into sort of more of an a la carte deal. I'm concerned about the notion of describing it as a failure, but I'd like to know what the implications, in other words, failure at the north bulkhead is intrinsically different, I think, is different, just what it implies for that. And I'm all on board with activating that corner because just and I would like to just, if they could be sort of split out for decision.
Before you go in, I think there's enough interest that will be the next step. So if we prioritize this, the numbers will come next, and the more information will come absolutely next. But I'm not sure that they have that information right now.
No, I just wanted to find out if there was any implicit reason why it was bundled a la carte or all-inclusive.
Mike.
Split. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm asking to make sure that we have a clear direction. So let's go ahead and do some sort of head nods. I think I heard at least two options that had support. One was, let's talk about a modified 223rd that includes pedestrian safety and not the complete street idea, but the sidewalk and pavement to make sure that people can get that enter and exit from the beach park. Or I heard, let's deprioritize the whole thing. Does that seem accurate? Oh, I'm sorry, yes, and there's that as well. So let's see out of those three options where we're at, and I'm just going to start at the end.
I'm in favor of the sidewalk modification. So that you have, there's a logical destination from the steps.
Okay.
But as far as the Green Street, I think that's not within our realm.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Green Street. I would love to see it happen. I think that, I don't know if we can get them fast enough to address the current problem. And so the sidewalks would address that problem. So I would just move the bioswale down the priority list.
I honestly don't have enough information. I know it would be cheaper to bundle them together. And in the absence of that all-in versus a la carte thing, I honestly, you can take that as an abstention. Thank you.
I'm going to agree. We're either going to do it all or we're not. So I say let's push it off.
I have a total different opinion on this. All we're doing is directing staff to accept the grant. And it gets us to the 90% design and 30% design. And I think it's asinine that we would give up $850,000 to get to a 90% design and a 30% design and not take the grant when, at the point that the grant's accepted, to get to the design, we could go to just sidewalks. So I'm in favor of taking the grant.
I'm in favor of moving towards the sidewalk as fast as possible.
And I think you heard, I'm more in favor of the sidewalk and prioritizing the infrastructure that is currently failing.
Great, so we will, just to recap, we're moving forward with Midway, we're moving forward with Redondo and Cliff, just design, you're not committed fully. We are declining the grant, and then we will take a look at that project if we were going to look at it purely through a sidewalk lens. That's what I heard majority.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Point of order, I actually agree with Councilmember Nutting 100%. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We are at the end of our meeting, and our next meeting will be a regular city council meeting on April 9th. That is next week. Deputy Mayor Oxiger, is there a motion to adjourn?
We adjourn. Second.
Nutting, Councilmember Nutting is the second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you.